While Charles Leclerc is still behind Max Verstappen with points, he put his title campaign back on track with a brilliant Austrian GP performance. There is no doubt that Ferrari is the quickest vehicle in Formula One, but are they the most unreliable? The stress was great in the final circuits, and the relief was tangible as Charles Leclerc crossed the finish line. So in today's video, we are going to discuss how Ferrari was able to win the Austrian GP and show you the reason why they might be in danger going forward this season. Stay tuned till the end of the video to find out. Due to power unit difficulties, Leclerc has lost scores of points this season. He appeared to be on his way to winning in Spain until his engine failed. And then the same thing happened while he was leading in Azerbaijan. Then, in Canada, he would be subject to engine penalties, and strange Ferrari tactical choices would lose a dominant Leclerc a chance in Monaco, Baku, and Silverstone. Carlos Sainz, another teammate, has also been afflicted by the issue. His most recent power unit issue occurred last time out in Austria, when he was denied what appeared to be a second-place finish when the engine caught fire. As a result of his requirement for a new power unit, Sainz has been obliged to accept a grid penalty and start the race in France from the back of the grid. Leclerc may still be trailing his main rival in the standings, but if he's going to win his first Formula One World Championship in November, the Austrian GP may be the pivotal race that both he and the world will look back on because it saw Spielberg make a comeback and put an end to a terrible run of bad luck that came after a strong start to the season. Leclerc was unfazed by losing to Verstappen in the sprint. His assurance that "we will get them tomorrow" following that mini-race was a sign of his confidence. And at the finish line, after 7 races and 3 months since his last podium finish at the Australian Grand Prix, he was a driver who possessed the character to win. We are going to discuss how Ferrari was able to win the Australian GP. He was a driver who possessed the character to win. Being faster than his teammate all weekend long and showcasing the excellent racing skills he has exhibited since making his F1 debut in 2018, Leclerc also needed to maintain his usual composure and calm demeanour to deal with the throttle issues that plagued his final laps of the race. His pedal stuck down in some corners, which cost him speed. He ultimately prevailed by a few seconds, and his title bid is now firmly on track. "I definitely needed it," he said afterwards. "I mean, of course, whenever I get to a new race since 5 races, I have a smile on my face, and I kept being optimistic, but obviously hard race after hard race. It just felt like everything was against me. So finally, we had a breakthrough good race today, and it feels really good to have a win again." One of the biggest surprises of the Austrian Grand Prix was Verstappen's failure to put up a stronger fight. The Dutchman's biggest concern was tyre deterioration. While the race was expected to be a one-stop race, Verstappen's rubber was wearing faster than the Ferraris behind him, and he was unable to keep Leclerc at bay until his first stop, shortly after the first overtake. Even though Verstappen was fast on new tyres at the time, Leclerc made quick work of a 6-second deficit out of the pits, and an irrevocable overtaking pattern was formed for the race. Max said, "I expected it to be a tough day, but I didn't expect it to be like this. It's just something we need to analyse and understand." With a lower downforce rear wing than earlier in the season, Ferrari was just as swift as the formerly dominant Red Bull on the straights, and presumably just as gentle on their tyres. That was a formidable combination, one that altered the Red Bull versus Ferrari dynamic in Austria, and may do so in the future. This was a statement win, not only for Leclerc, but also for Ferrari. The concern with Leclerc and Ferrari is that their major 2022 flaw was exposed again in the recent race. With superior performance than Verstappen in both cars, it appeared like the Scuderia would score its first 1-2 since April when Carlos Sainz came inside the DRS range of the Red Bull. Engine smoke followed by an engine fire and another DNF. Ferrari has already experienced 4 mechanical breakdowns this season. With Leclerc's victory and Perez's retirement, Ferrari had made up ground on Red Bull in the Constructors' title, but the Scuderia could legitimately argue that it had the quickest vehicle in 2022. The wide point gap in the standings is just not acceptable. Team manager Mattia Binotto, who acknowledged he couldn't even watch the final 3 laps because he was afraid Leclerc would meet the same fate as Sainz, claimed the engine failure was quite likely the same as Leclerc's in Baku. Leclerc said, "It is certainly a concern, but the people back in Maranello are working very hard trying to fix them. We need to get on top of this as quickly as possible. There might potentially be long-term consequences. Only as Leclerc suffered an engine penalty in Canada, Sainz's title ambition, just a week after appearing to kick-start it with a British GP win, might be finished after sliding 75 points behind Verstappen. So Ferrari is quick but vulnerable, and this might have a significant impact on this exciting title fight. Ferrari's power unit in 2022 is not the most dependable of all. However, Haas F1 as a client team has been hurt worse than the Italian team. The VF22 of Haas F1 is much lighter than Ferrari and Alfa Romeo vehicles. As a result, the vehicles of Kevin Magnussen and Mick Schumacher are subjected to harsher shocks while driving. Alfa Romeo's Valtteri Bottas is already on his third Ferrari Turbo and MGU-H after less than half of the 2022 championship races. The former Mercedes driver will receive a grid penalty if he requires a fourth of either element. Mattia Binotto confessed that dependability will be one of the primary obstacles to effectively battling Red Bull throughout the year. There is an issue, however. Despite all the Grand Prix this season, Ferrari has yet to find a solution. Mattia Binotto later stated that the Italian team's power unit reliability issues have been worrying. The Ferrari boss is aware that reliability will be a critical factor in the team's fight with Red Bull for the 2022 Formula One World Championships. Charles Leclerc was leading the race in Barcelona until he was forced to retire due to an engine problem, handing the championship lead to Max Verstappen and Red Bull. Charles Leclerc's DNF at the Circuit de Catalunya was caused by a failure of his MGU, H, and turbocharger, which means that the monogasque has lost one of each. Given that drivers are only allowed to use 3 internal combustion engines, as well as 3 of the hybrid ancillaries such as the Turbo, MGU-H, and MGU-K during the current campaign. Another great issue for Ferrari is the loss of their straight-line speed advantage on the circuit. They must solve the engine performance issues that have plagued them since the FIA evaluated their 2019 power units. They've lost their straight-line speed and need to fix it fast, especially if they want to provide Leclerc and the incoming Carlos Sainz a more competitive vehicle next season. Former Ferrari technical director Ross Brawn stated, "There's a long road ahead of them. They need to find out if there is a fundamental problem with the car, and they need to find out fast, because clearly they are some way off the pace." A second concern raised by Brawn is the strain that the squad would already be under from eager fans and media, particularly in Italy. He said, "I know from my own experience that the media pressure in Italy can be incredibly intense, and you have to make sure it doesn't get to your people. Putting that aside, the next task for the team's leadership will be to get those vehicle enhancements correct. There are already rumours that the team manager, Mattia Binotto's position is in jeopardy, with Ferrari's Director of GT Operations, Antonella Coletta, being connected with the role of team principal. Do you think Ferrari has a chance to compete for the title against Max Verstappen and Red Bull? Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any of our incredible videos. Keep an eye out for the next video. Bye for now.